We're ready for section number 3 on this crochet along, featuring the classic granny stitch pattern, which is going to be these clusters here built of 3 double crochets, and then you have the space in between. This is one of my favorite stitch patterns to work, and worked in the taller stitches here and the double crochet stitches, this section comes together pretty quickly. For the granny stitch section, because of the stitch multiple, we're going to have to adjust it depending on the size. We need to increase in the last row of the little pebble section. So I'm going to show that one first. You're going to be decreasing, and I'll show this way after. You can use the timestamp in the description box below to jump ahead to the instructions for the size that you're making. To increase, we're going to go ahead and take out 4 stitches here in the little pebbles stitch pattern. That's going to leave you with a single crochet. In this stitch is where we're going to do our increase. So you already have the single crochet that you made after the treble crochet. We're going to add 1 more single crochet into that same stitch, so that now you have 2 single crochets there. Now we're going to continue here with our next couple stitches in pattern, treble crochet in the next stitch, single crochet in the next stitch, treble crochet in the next one, single crochet in the last stitch. And where we worked 2 single crochets, that has now increased our stitch count by 1 stitch. We're going to start with a chain 2. That chain 2 is going to count as our first stitch from our first cluster. And now I'm going to turn. We're going to add 2 double crochets to that very first stitch that our chain is connected to. Yarn over, insert your hook into that stitch as normal, picking up both loops of the V shape. Yarn over and pull through. There's 3 loops on your hook now. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Yarn over, insert your hook back into the same exact stitch. Yarn over and pull through. 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. That's going to be our first granny stitch cluster complete. 2 double crochets plus the chain, which counts as a double crochet, 3 stitches in total. Now we're going to skip each of the next 2 stitches. That's going to be the treble crochet and single crochet. And in the next stitch, which is a treble crochet, we're going to go ahead and work our next cluster. So yarn over, insert your hook into that stitch as normal, picking up both loops of that V shape. Yarn over and pull through. 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Yarn over, insert your hook into the same exact stitch. Yarn over and pull through. 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops. 1 more double crochet in the same exact stitch, so we'll have 3. And that's our second cluster. Now we're going to continue in this pattern, skip each of the next 2 stitches. In the next stitch, work a cluster of 3 double crochets. Skip each of the next 2 stitches, 3 double crochets in the next one. And that's how you'll continue this pattern all the way down until you get to the last couple stitches here, Now we've reached the end here. We're going to skip the next 2 stitches, and in the last stitch we're just going to work 1 double crochet. And that's going to be it for the first row of the granny stitch pattern. To get started, we're going to do a chain 2. This chain 2 counts as our first double crochet from our first granny stitch cluster. Now we'll turn our work. We're going to work 2 double crochets into this very first stitch that the chain is connected to. Yarn over, insert your hook right into that stitch as normal, picking up both loops from the V shape. Yarn over and pull through. There's 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Yarn over, insert your hook back into the same exact stitch. Yarn over and pull through. 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops. 2 double crochets plus the chain 2, which is equal to a double crochet, makes 3 stitches in total, and that's our first cluster. Now in the next cluster we're going to go ahead and work a decrease, and I do it in the second cluster to keep this side as straight as possible. So we're going to skip each of the next 2 stitches. That's a treble crochet and single crochet, and in the next stitch, which is a treble crochet, that's where we're going to start. We're going to yarn over, insert our hook into this stitch, and remember for the treble crochets you might need to rotate your fabric forward so you can see your stitch. Yarn over and pull through. 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops. The next stitch is going to be the decrease. We're going to yarn over, insert your hook into the same exact stitch, yarn over and pull through. There's 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops only, leaving those last 2 loops on your hook. In the next stitch, which is a single crochet, yarn over, insert your hook into that stitch, yarn over and pull through. There's 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through all 4 loops. That's going to complete our next cluster there with 3 stitches, even though we did a decrease here. It's also going to decrease the total number of stitches for this row by 1, and then we'll repeat this on the other side so we can decrease by the second stitch that we need to do for this size. We're going to continue now in the granny stitch pattern. We're going to skip each of the next 2 stitches, and in the next stitch we'll work 3 double crochets. Skip each of the next 2 stitches, and then in the next stitch work 3 double crochets. And as you work this stitch pattern all the way across, you're going to be skipping those 2 stitches and working into the third, which is going to mean one time you'll work into a single crochet stitch, the next time you'll work into a treble crochet. That's kind of an easy way to keep track of it as you go across. Skip each of the next 2 stitches, 3 double crochets in the next stitch. You'll go ahead and continue this all the way across. Then we'll work our last decrease here and finish the row. There's my last granny stitch cluster before I start decreasing. So we have 7 stitches here left unworked. We're going to skip each of the next 2 stitches, and in the next stitch we're going to start our decrease. Yarn over, insert your hook into that stitch, yarn over and pull through, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops only, leaving 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over and pull through, 4 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 4 loops. This will count as 2 of our stitches from this next cluster, but it also turns this from 2 stitches into just 1 stitch. Now we're going to work one more double crochet into the same stitch where we ended our decrease. That completes that cluster. We skip the next 2 stitches, and in the final stitch we're going to work 1 double crochet. And that's it. This first row of the granny stitch pattern is complete. We're going to do all the remaining rows the same way as we're about to do for row 2. We start with a chain 2, and that chain 2 is always going to count as one of the double crochets from our first granny stitch cluster. Now we turn our work, and we're going to work 2 double crochets into this very first space here to complete our first cluster. Yarn over, insert your hook into the space this time, not into the stitch but underneath it into the space, and then complete your double crochet. Yarn over, insert into the space again, and complete a double crochet. Now these 2 double crochets plus the chain that counts as a double crochet equal 3 stitches in total, and that's our first cluster. Skip the next cluster, and in the space in between those next 2, that's where you're going to work your next granny stitch cluster. 3 double crochets into the space underneath the stitch. Cluster number 2. And now we're going to go ahead and work all the way across in the same manner, working 3 double crochets into each space there in between the clusters, all the way until we get to the end and we work our last cluster here in the last space. Now that we've worked our last cluster here, we're going to skip each of the next 2 double crochets, and in the top chain of the last stitch, which is a chain 2, we're going to work just 1 double crochet. Insert our hook into that top chain, and the top chain is in line with the top of those 2 double crochets. So the very next stitch there on the end that you can work into, that's the top chain. Just insert right into the center of it, and then complete your double crochet. And that's it. Row 2 is complete, and this is how you're going to do all of the remaining rows in the granny stitch section. So let's recap really quick. You start each row with a chain 2, which counts as a double crochet. Turn your work. The first cluster in the first space is going to be 2 double crochets always, and the 2 double crochets plus the chain equal 3 stitches. Then skip the next cluster and work your next granny stitch cluster of 3 double crochets into that very next space. And then into each space all the way across the row. Once you get to the end, you'll finish your last granny stitch cluster in the last space. Skip each of the next 2 double crochets, and in the top chain of the last stitch, you're going to work just 1 double crochet. So each row that you begin is going to start with a chain 2 and 2 double crochets in the first space, and it's going to end with just 1 double crochet in the last stitch. Before I put up the chart with the number of rows, we're going to go ahead and talk about how to add yarn if you run out while you're working in the granny stitch section. And we're going to talk about how to count the rows. Then you'll find the chart. Feel free to use the timestamp section located in the description box if you'd like to skip ahead to the chart. If you do this and you find that you run out of yarn and you need to view that clip, you can go back to the timestamp section and click on the one for adding yarn and it will jump you back in the video. As you're working, if you find yourself running out of yarn and you need to add more, you can do it in any of the stitches along the way. So I've done 1 double crochet here from this next cluster. I'm going to go ahead and change the yarn in the next double crochet, but you can do it in the first one or the third one. You can do it in the middle or at the end, anywhere that you need to add yarn. So I'm not going to cut my yarn here, but you're going to leave a tail end long enough you can comfortably weave in. So if the tail end is too short, then you'll want to pull out here further back so that you can have that tail end that's long enough for you. Then you're going to work up until the last step of the stitch. So we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into the stitch as normal, yarn over and pull through, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. We have 2 loops left, and the last step of this stitch is to yarn over and pull through those 2 loops. So this is where we're going to switch. I'm going to set this down, then I'll go ahead and grab the new strand, forming a loop near the end, but leaving a tail end long enough I can comfortably weave in. This one might be a little bit long. Adjust it for whatever's best for you. Put this loop onto your crochet hook. This is going to count as the last yarn over, and then you pull that through both loops to complete the double crochet. Now we've completed it with the strand from the original ball, but the new strand that we have to work with is from our new ball. So drop the tail end there, grab your working yarn, and now you're ready to go with your new ball. You're going to want to make sure that your stitches are nice and tight and consistent with the rest. So this loop here in the middle is gotten quite large. So I'm just going to go to the original tail end and give that a tug so it goes down to normal tension. I want everything to look the same. I can pull on the new tail end if I need to for this loop that's on my hook. And now I'm ready to go. The tail ends, you're going to push them to the back of your work, whichever side that is that you are switching from. So as I switched, I have the textured side of the pebble stitch facing up. So I know this is the front, and I'm going to push my tail ends to the back. Now if your fabric was facing the other way, where the smooth side of the little pebble stitch is facing up, then you're going to keep your tail ends to the front so that they can still remain on the back. That way when you go to weave them in, you're hiding them on the back of the fabric. Now to count your rows of the granny stitch pattern, it's really easy to pull out the cluster in between those spaces. So starting down here is row 1, and then I just go up diagonally, row 2, row 3, row 4, row 5, 6, 7, and 8. And you just have to remember to go diagonally as you're counting, because if you were to just go up, you would miss that one in between. So 1, 2, 3. Always go diagonally. Now I'm going to go ahead and put up the chart that's going to show how many rows you're going to want to have depending on the size that you're working. Just keep in mind the overall length that you want. So you're going to take your desired size minus the border, divided by 2, because this is the third one, so it's half. And that's going to be the length that we want from the bottom edge all the way up to the top edge. For this particular stitch pattern, it does not matter if you finish on the right side, which is the front side where you can see the textured pattern of the little pebbles, or on the wrong side, which is the back side, and that's the flat side of the little pebble stitch. So you can very easily add rows here or subtract rows by any number to get closer to that length. And that's it. Now we're ready to move on to the next section, which is going to feature my Octavia series and post stitches. So when that section is ready, I will pop the link for it down in the description box below. Make sure to check there for all the sections, as well as the written pattern and the link to my newsletter if you'd like to subscribe. Newsletter subscribers do get access to the free file library on my website where they can download PDFs of the patterns. I'll catch you guys next time.